My name is Rebecca Carter, and for most of my adult life, I believed marriage followed a simple, predictable path. You meet someone, fall in love, promise forever, build a home, raise children, and grow old side by side. That was the picture I carried in my mind, and for many years. It felt like that picture was my reality. I had been married to my husband, Daniel, for nearly 12 years when something happened that shook the foundation of everything I thought I knew about love. Loyalty and trust. It wasn't a fight or betrayal that brought us to that point, but rather a quiet wish. One that Daniel carried silently for years until the day he finally voiced it. And the part that changed everything even more. I said yes. Daniel and I first met in college. He was studying mechanical engineering, always buried under equations and design projects, while I was in the psychology program, fascinated by people, emotions, and relationships. We met in the library late one evening. He was sitting across from me at a long wooden table surrounded by textbooks and notes. I remember glancing up from my reading and catching him rubbing his temples in frustration. Long night. I asked with a smile, not even sure if he'd respond. To my surprise, he looked up, his eyes warm but tired. You could say that. These formulas don't exactly solve themselves. That small exchange turned into a conversation that lasted hours. We talked about classes, professors, future dreams, and even silly little things like our favorite foods and childhood pets. Daniel wasn't like most guys I had met. He didn't dominate the conversation or try to impress me with big words. He listened. He really listened. He had this calm, steady presence, like an anchor in the middle of a storm. I, on the other hand, was the talkative one, curious, playful, always ready to dive deep into conversations that stretched late into the night. Somehow, we balanced each other perfectly. After graduation, our bond only grew stronger. Daniel landed a job at an engineering firm, and I began my career in counseling. We married in a small church in Virginia, surrounded by close friends and family. I remember walking down the aisle in my lace dress, my father holding my arm, my heart pounding with both nerves and excitement. Daniel stood at the altar, eyes locked on me, and in that moment, I nearly knew that he was my safe place. Life after marriage unfolded like the dream we had built together. We bought a cozy house with a white fence. We adopted a golden retriever named Max, who quickly became our first baby. Then, a few years later, we welcomed our daughter, Emily, and our son, Jacob. Emily had her father's gentle eyes, and Jacob carried my playful energy. From the outside looking in, we were the kind of family others admired. People often said things like, "You two are such a strong couple," or "You're so lucky." And in many ways, we were. But what most people don't see is that even strong marriages have cracks. They aren't always visible to outsiders, but the weight of them can be heavy for the ones living inside. For us, the cracks started quietly, almost unnoticed. Daniel's job demanded long hours, and he often came home exhausted. My days were filled with balancing work, managing the household, and caring for the kids. Conversations shifted from dreams and laughter to bills, chores, and schedules. We still loved each other deeply, but the energy that once came so effortlessly now required effort. Even so, we tried. We carved out family nights. We took short vacations. We shared small moments, like sipping coffee together before the kids woke up. Still, beneath it all, there was a sense of routine. A rhythm that was safe but sometimes suffocating. It was on our 12th wedding anniversary that everything changed. Daniel planned a rare night out, just the two of us. He booked a table at a quiet restaurant, lit softly by candles and low music. I remember thinking how good it felt to dress up again, to see him across the table, looking at me not as a co-parent or partner in bills, but as the woman he had once fallen in love with. The meal was lovely, the conversation light. Then, as the waiter cleared our plates, Daniel reached across the table and took my hand. His thumb brushed gently over mine, and I noticed the hesitation in his eyes. "Rebecca," he began, his voice steady but soft, "there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. It hasn't been easy to bring up, but I think it's important." My heart skipped a beat. In that instant, my mind spun with possibilities. Was he sick? Was he unhappy? Was he about to tell me something that would unravel everything we had built? I searched his eyes for clues, bracing myself. What is it? I asked quietly, my voice almost trembling. He took a deep breath, eyes lowering to his plate before meeting mine again. I have a wish. Something I've thought about for years. But I've been afraid to say it out loud because I don't want to hurt you. I squeezed his hand gently. Daniel, we promised each other honesty. Whatever it is, I want to hear it. He hesitated, then said words that landed like a thunderclap. I've always wanted to explore more in our marriage, to step outside the boundaries we set years ago. Not because I don't love you, Rebecca. I love you more than anything, but because I feel like there's a part of me that's unfulfilled. And I don't want that secret to fester until it tears us apart. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened and my mind swirled. He wasn't confessing to an affair, but he was confessing a desire for something that felt dangerously close to betrayal. Part of me felt wounded, like the foundation of our love had cracked. But another part of me, the counselor in me, understood. Suppressed desires can grow heavy. Secrets can rot silently until they explode. So, you're asking for permission. I managed to whisper. Daniel nodded slowly. Only if you're comfortable. Only if you say yes. I don't want to lose us. I want to be honest about what I've been feeling. I sat there in stunned silence, love, hurt, fear, curiosity. A storm of emotions raged inside me. For 12 years, I had been the dependable wife, the steady partner, the one who held everything together. I never allowed myself to imagine stepping outside those lines. But in that moment, something cracked open inside me, too. A question I had never dared to ask. What if? That night, I didn't give him an answer. I told him I needed time, and he respected that. For weeks, I wrestled with the decision. At night, I journaled listing fears, pros, cons, and possible outcomes. I confided in my sister Claire, who urged me to be cautious and protect my heart. But the most telling part wasn't in the journaling or the advice. It was in watching Daniel. During those weeks, he didn't pressure me. He didn't withdraw. If anything, he was more attentive, making me coffee in the mornings, sending thoughtful texts during the day, helping with the kids without me asking. It was as if by confessing his wish, he had opened a door not just to his desires, but to a deeper level of care and honesty. One evening, I stood quietly in the doorway, watching him read to Jacob. His voice was soft, his hand steady as he turned the pages. And in that moment, I realized something profound. His wish wasn't born out of wanting to abandon us. It was born out of wanting to live honestly with me, to share even the parts of himself that were uncomfortable or scary. That kind of vulnerability I knew was rare. Weeks later, lying in bed with only the shadows around us, I whispered my answer. Yes, I'll say yes. Not because I want to lose you, but because I trust you. And maybe I have wishes too. His eyes widened, filled with relief and gratitude. He pulled me close, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." But saying yes was only the beginning. What followed was a journey neither of us could have predicted. We set boundaries, rules we agreed upon together. Honesty above everything. No secrets. Regular check-ins. Respect for each other's feelings at all times. It wasn't about replacing love. It was about exploring, understanding ourselves, and growing together in new ways. The months that followed were a mix of doubt, growth, and unexpected connection. Some nights I cried quietly, wondering if I had made the biggest mistake of my life. Other mornings, Daniel held me close and whispered, "You're my heart, my home, my forever." And slowly something shifted in me too. His wish had opened a door for mine. I admitted to Daniel that I longed for more adventure, not just in romance, but in life. I wanted to travel, to dance, to rediscover passions I had buried under the weight of responsibilities. Together, we began saying yes. Yes to weekend road trips. Yes to late-night talks that lasted until dawn. Yes to laughter, risks, and living beyond the safe little box we had built. His wish had started as a test of trust, but it turned into a transformation for both of us. We weren't perfect. We stumbled. We argued. We faced judgment from people who would never understand. But through it all, our love didn't weaken. It deepened. Not because it fit a mold, but because it was raw, real. An honest dot. Looking back now, I realized that saying yes wasn't about infidelity. It was about courage, about choosing truth over silence, growth over stagnation, love over fear. Daniel and I are still together, still raising our children, still walking hand in hand through life. And sometimes, late at night, I think back to that anniversary dinner, the moment that changed everything. And I whisper a quiet thank you for his courage to speak his wish and for mine to say yes, because sometimes the bravest thing you can do in love is step into the unknown together.